Thank the Force. We're back. Thursday night, Star Wars News Net live, and what a day it has been for the Star Wars News Net crew. I mean, we got all the nubs in the background with Nate in the house. My name is Tyler, joined by Luke there at the bottom of the screen, and it's been a big day. It's been a big day. Luke and I had a wonderful talk for honestly, we would have talked to Kevin Scott for 2 hours today. But I think we actually had to cut him off because he was super amped to talk about some High Republic stuff. So we talked with Kevin Scott today. We were getting some stuff from that. It was really fun because yes, we were doing an episode of the Timeline Show talking about Rising Storm, but we talked about all aspects of the High Republic. He talked about some things in terms of creating the different launch points for the series that I wasn't aware of even yet, which was really fun. And he even dropped some stuff about characters that were, supposed to be there all the way till Charles Soule's Trials of the Jedi and be figure points of that didn't make it along the way, and characters that were supposed to get offed earlier on that made it farther than he thought they would, and it was a lot of fun. So be looking for that, everyone. Luke and I got to talk with him. Then Luke and I were at MegaCon today, and we turned a corner, and literally just Manny just was awesome. Standing there. And we were like, wait, we just turned the corner. Like,
10 feet away from us.
It's less, honestly. And so that was funny. And then we were like, let's just keep walking. And so that was fun. But a great time. Day one. We're going to have some fun times tomorrow, day two. But we are ready. I'm revved up, ready to talk some Star Wars this evening. We're going to talk some George Nolfi comments. I have a fun panel idea comment or quiz. We'll call it a game for us this evening. We're going to talk Oscar Isaac, Star Wars Celebration. There's a lot of fun things to discuss this week. And then because we have Nate, who leads our comics and books initiative. We have some book news come out this week. Major comic dropped this week. So there's a lot of fun. That's a major comic, yeah. And so it was fun. It's a fun week of Star Wars. So everyone, if you're wondering where Luke is, he is upstairs in my house right now, not in his usual setup because we've been hanging out. So that's why he looks like he's been just dropped off in the middle of nowhere and this random background. So are we ready? How are we feeling? Are we had a good week? Are we ready to get into some Star Wars?
Yeah, absolutely. I can say, since I am not in my actual place of residence, I do miss the fiance. She's always over on the couch kind of listening. So Madison, if you're watching, I miss you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. How sweet.
Yeah, I'm excited to get going as well and talk about all the goodness of Star Wars. And I'm excited to listen to your guys' chat with Kevin Scott. He's a lovely guy to talk to.
Nate, I think you'll love it.
Oh yeah. When I talked to him a couple years back about Path of Vengeance, we went on about all kinds of stuff. He is a massive Star Wars fan, and he is very, very passionate about what he does. I'm excited to see what you guys cooked up.
It was a fun chat. It just felt like we were just chatting. It was fun. It was a really good time. So I have a fun game that we're gonna play real fast. And in the comments, I want everyone to participate if you're able, willing, and able. So we're at MegaCon. We're doing our own panels. There's Star Wars Celebration panels that are happening. Soon. We got some news on that. So you're hosting a panel, a Star Wars Celebration this year. What is your dream lineup for your panel? Like, what's your theme, and what is your dream lineup, Galupshido, edition? So you can't bring on Hayden, you can't bring on Ewan, you can't bring Ian McDermott out to be the Empire. We got to go full on. Who are the just most random? What is the most random group that you could assemble while still maintaining, a solid theme? And, for me, I'm having Steven Stanton on because I need my Meeber Gascon. I've decided I need Meeber Gascon there to talk some Clone Wars stuff. And if I have Meeber on, I don't know who the voice of Corporal Whack was, but I'm bringing Corporal Whack on as well. And then I'm going to bring on, some random that remember that guy that owns the shop, the restaurant that what was the clone that they found?
Gregor.
Yeah. So for Gregor, we're bringing that guy on, and we're gonna do just this D Squad and villain mashup, and we're gonna have this whole like random Clone Wars arc. We're just gonna talk about what it's like to be deserted on a planet together, going on a mission with Meeber, and I think that's what we're gonna do. That'd be my panel. Bring a D Squad in, and we're having my honestly Corporal Whack, whoever voiced him. That's who I need as my main line with Steven Stanton. That's the lineup for me personally. But I'm sure Luke is going to bring on like Wag 2 and Dr. Nuru Vindi from the Clone Wars, whoever voiced those characters.
So yeah, I think you had a pretty coherent vision to yours. I was just trying to pick out some random, just weird characters that I would throw together. So I would have like maybe a Wag 2, maybe a Nuvu Vindi, just some odd Clone Wars characters that you never think of. I really wanted Amy Sedaris to be there for my Peli motto, just to like, she's always just, Peli is just a strange character, a fun character. I feel like Amy would be great to have on stage and answer some wild
Fair.
questions. She'd give some wild answers. I would love to have that. And who else would I even think of? Maybe the person who physically portrayed Claude in The Rise of Skywalker. just see what his experience was like, and if he is aware of the the mini fandom that really is around Claude.
We bring on Claudia Gray just so she can talk about the conception of Geode. Talking about Geode. Or can we just get a rock on stage? Just give me like a big rock on stage, and we're just gonna call
this
that
is a real
Geode.
life Vintian.
And I will ask Geode questions. We found a real life Vintian. I will ask him questions, and we'll all just pretend like he's answering the questions. And it's going to be fantastic. Nate, what about you?
Well, first off, I wish you would prep us with these types of scenarios before show, so we could actually think about what I would want to say. Because the only place my mind is going to is just two people on stage, just going back and forth. I want Jude Law and Jim Cummings, Hondo Onaka and John Nanawood, just going back and forth in character and just going back and forth, sharing stories. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Just a nice old pirate talk and see what kind of chaos they could come up with. So for me, that's kind of where my mind goes to. I don't know what else that would go to if we're playing in this kind of glup shitto, let's have some fun type of realm. But yeah, but there's a lot of maybe we throw in like a Dexter Jetster somewhere.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, what's the name? Or the name of the guy who played Dex.
I don't know, but that's another character. That could be the moderator.
Hang out with that guy.
Yeah, he could be.
He's the moderator.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of Star Wars characters I'm not thinking of right now.
If there was outside of just the Glupshido characters, is there one? I'm curious because Oscar Isaac, announcing he's going to be, or them announcing that Oscar Isaac will be at Celebration is a really big deal, and that he's going to be out there signing autographs. He's going to be doing things. So, what if there was a scenario where you're sitting down on a panel, you're being able to sit with any Star Wars actor? We'll just open it up. Is there one that you've always wanted to meet? If you go to like one of these, if you were to go to a celebration or a con, is there one that you would really, really go out of your way?
Well, I would pick Nubs, obviously Sydney for sure. The lovely D. Bradley Baker is an icon in Star Wars. That'd be a lot of fun to meet him. Man, I don't know. If I were to just pick one, I see this person at celebrations all the time, and they seem just like the loveliest person in the world. It's a cop-out answer, I know, but Daisy Ridley, like, she is just the absolute. She seems like the absolute best person to be around. So I feel like that would be the one person. And Ewan McGregor would probably be my second, because his Obi-Wan is my favorite Star Wars character, so that'd be number two. But I feel like just meeting the person it's got to be Daisy Ridley for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Daisy would be in like my top 3 or 4. Like she's
Yeah,
up
like,
there for me for sure.
It's hard. Like I don't know. I like it's a 1A 1B situation. Like I don't know. Ask me tomorrow. I'll probably say Ewan. But
Luke, do you have someone like if this is your one chance, your one opportunity?
I am choosing Adam Driver. I don't care what movie, how bad it is. I really fell in love with Kylo Ren, and so no matter what Adam Driver does for the rest of his career, I'm probably going to watch it because I really just loved his Kylo Ren. So like I would love to get him on a panel, get him in a one-on-one and just be like, "Listen, I love what you did. Let's talk about it."
Mhm.
I know that you had to like some things about it. Maybe you're a little hesitant to talk about those things, Adam, but like let's get into it. I love this.
Right.
Let's go.
I love that too. Are you biased right now at all because you just read like the Legacy of Vader 1 or you're about to read it and you're really hyped for it?
So I understand why it would look that way, but I am not. If anything, I have been this way for a little while. I've
Okay.
been in love. I mean, I had no reason to go watch House of Gucci. Was not interested in that at all. But Adam Driver was in it. Yeah, my butt went to the theater and I watched that.
You went to see House of Gucci in theater?
I did too.
No, I did too, but I had no idea Luke went to go see it. How did we? I was like, was this not discussed?
This is gang up on Luke type of situation. I got it.
Bring it on.
I'm like, no, I saw it in theater as well.
I regret going to it in theaters.
No, it was worth. Lady Gaga was so.
Lady
good in
Gaga
that
was
movie.
great, and the fiance loves Lady Gaga, so it was great for both of us.
Fair.
But I can say like I've been really, I've loved Kylo Ren for a little while now, a long time. So the comic coming out was something I was super excited for. And I'm not going to lie to you. Sure. Maybe I'm a little biased because I got it signed today. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe I'm a little biased.
Cindy says, to be fair, Legacy of Vader is not exactly flattering for Kylo Ren. Although I'd argue it depends on what kind of Kylo Ren do you like. Or do you love a little angsty Kylo Ren? Because if you do, then the first issue was all about. If you love the diva Kylo Ren, then that was all for you.
Diva.
And I must say, I love a little over-the-top extra diva Kylo Ren. So I was kind of all about his, you guys think this is your moment? Do you know who I am? As he just starts slaughtering people. If you haven't read it yet, sorry for the spoiler there. But it's also Kylo Ren. You knew he's going to do something.
He's sparing around Snoke's corpse for everyone to see. Like, just so extra. And I love it.
Hux giving him like all this military advice. And he goes, I can launch all of these things within the hour. Have I actually, given you an order yet? No. Here's what I want you to do.
What's that throne gonna
build
look
me
like?
a throne.
I am dying to see what that throne's going to look like at whatever point.
A wooden chair.
He said, and get it right the first time.
It might be. Like, that could be the point where we'll get into it, I'm sure, but like Hux puts in all this effort to make the best throne possible, and Kylo hates it. And Hux is like, yeah, screw all this. I'm going to go be a traitor now.
I just need Kylo Ren to lose. And they go, why was this deleted scene was so
it's actually not
unique.
A bad little canon story development there, if that's how they want to play it.
Well, the deleted scene is going to be in Rise of Skywalker. They actually asked him, why do you need Kylo Ren to lose? He's like, because I spent 2 years on I spent the last year on this throne, and then he hated it, and he demoted me or something. It's so funny. Man.
They brought in Pride because I sucked at throne making.
Apparently, Pride was able to build the better throne. Oh my goodness! So if I had to pick, one person. I would pick Ian McDiarmid, the Emperor himself.
Oh, you said that today.
He's been since I was a little kid. The Emperor has always been like my favorite character. I've always been super into Palpatine. Every Clone Wars arc where he's behind the scenes, they give us some of that, are my favorites. I love, everything with him in the prequels. And he's also, it'd be so interesting to talk to him because of how he's worked in every single trilogy. and he's been around, even though, he came on late with Rise of Skywalker. I wouldn't say that was necessarily, planned, but he was there. He was there. He worked with Daisy. He's worked with Adam. He was around the ninth movie. He's around the sequel trilogy cast. He was obviously around for the prequels, and then who could forget his incredible performance in Return of the Jedi? I mean, there's just so much there, and to sit and listen every time he does an interview or a panel. I just sit there. I just love listening to his voice and just how he talks and the stories that he has to share. And so I really want, I need this man to keep on churning for a little longer so I can go to a celebration that he can be at where, it's in the States. I can actually get there and meet this man. I will pay whatever it costs. I will spare no expense. We got the new Jurassic World trailer this week. So I will spare no expense to meet this man. That's my number one Star Wars dream in life for sure.
Ian actually came to see. I wanted to say him, but I can't because I actually attended his panel when Ian McDermott came to Twin Cities Con this last year. So I've been in the room with him telling all of his fabled stories, and it's as good in person as it is anywhere else. Like, he is just amazing to listen to. I couldn't meet the guy because, good God, his autograph line was pretty much out the door.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure.
The entire weekend, and that weekend also packed Hayden Christensen as well because he came for a day. So I couldn't meet either of them at last year's Twin Cities Con. So that was upsetting, but
I would
maybe this year.
I would sit on my butt for however long it would take to make that happen. But anyway, fun little talk to start. We're at the MegaCon today. There was Star Wars Celebration news, so panels are on the mind. But some interesting stuff came out this week. So George Nolvi had some comments about the Rey movie and his work on it right now, and what the expectations are, where the mindset is going to this film. And I'm not going to waste time by reading through any of his quotes exactly, because honestly, when I was talking to Luke earlier today, I said he really said a whole bunch of nothing. For the most part, to me, it's the whole bunch of nothing. But within that, something I think we can take away from the nothingness is if he's not having to come in and rewrite the script and rewrite the book on this thing, that means that he's going to be doing a lot of maybe polishing up on where the other scripts have been left off, that Stephen Knight may have dropped off before he left the project. And we might be a little bit closer on this thing than maybe we all think. And that makes me wonder, could we get some more details on this in April when Celebration rolls around? Is this something that's close enough, as he's been working on this for a little bit now, that we might be able to get a little bit more than the just generic, it's going to take place 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, and, the galaxy's trying to figure out what to do. I would love if we could get a little bit more churning here. But I was curious if you guys thought, given what he said, if that was just complete writer speak, he's not supposed to say anything at all whenever asked these questions, or is it genuine, we could take some optimistic views here because it seems like everything's going as planned.
Yeah, I'll hop in here. I kind of echo your thoughts. I was reading through them again. It's not the most intriguing quotes in the world. He understands the assignment. He understands what Star Wars is and what it tries to do with its storytelling. Cool. Yeah. I don't really have much else to add other than that. I do think there is a chance we find out more at Celebration, simply because I remember when the news broke that Stephen Knight left the project. I don't know what outlet, but it was one of them that already said a new writer was already attached.
Right.
So that was months ago now. So theoretically, George Nolfi has been working on this for months now, and not the weeks that we've only known about it. So
Well, that's my assumption, is that if
yeah.
these things get leaked, he's been working on this for
Oh,
a long time already. So
Oh yeah.
this man's probably
Conversations
already
are
been
very
yeah,
advanced.
mhm.
Conversations are very advanced. So
And so that makes me think that this movie, in terms of having the script finalized, to Daisy getting a script, like we might be at that point. I really feel like we
Possibly.
might be at that point, or at least we're really close. And I think Celebration will be a wonderful time for them to be able to confirm, like Daisy to be able to be there and say, yes, I have seen a script. Like I have read the script. I'm excited about this. And maybe not we're going into production next January or something, but we have finished the script. We're getting into pre-production type stuff right now. That would be just absolutely perfect to hear, especially if the Sean Levy movie is actually going to go into production this fall with Ryan Gosling. Then we would know we have the next one, written in the pipeline, ready to go. But Luke, where do you stand here on some of this?
I really like what you just ended with. Like, it'd feel amazing to have Mando and Grogu on the horizon. We'd have the Sean Levy Ryan Gosling thing in the works in the fall, and then if we could have a little bit more confirmation that the Rey and Nolfi project is coming to a conclusion and that she's got a script, that would be such a turnaround from like right now, maybe. Like I'd love to hear those updates, but yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm hoping that Nolfi's comments that weren't earth shattering are
Right.
at least giving us a sense that like this is coming close to getting to the finish line. Like I think there's been, what did we count? Like 3 different writers that have been attached to this project.
300,
So,
yeah.
300. Nolfi is our final one, and he is bringing this home. And he
You
will
had
be
to say
giving
it.
us I had to say it because it's true, because I know this for sure because I just texted him. Okay. And he said, sorry, that is sarcasm.
Oh,
He's
we
going to
know.
be, he's going to be our final one, and he's going to get this thing done, and he's going to get a script into Daisy's hands. I'm crossing my fingers on it. I'm hopeful.
So a celebration would be a great time to elaborate more on this film, give us a little more insight into what's happening. And we just got the announcement that Oscar Isaac is going to be at Celebration, which, makes everyone start wondering, is how many other people from The Force Awakens might be there, because we're coming up on 10 years this year of The Force Awakens being released. And I believe, Nate, in the chat, we were discussing that Oscar's never been available for like photos and signing autographs at these panels. So for him to be there to do that's a pretty big deal.
That's pretty cool. Yep.
And so it's pretty exciting. And do you guys think we're going to be able to get the whole cast, the whole gang back together? Because I feel like Daisy's going to be there. And the real question is, will John be there? And will J.J. Abrams make a quick appearance? I know he's busy right now, I'm pretty sure, doing some other things. So, or at least his schedule at the time will make him pretty busy. But could he bop on over and do a 10-year, Force Awakens reunion panel, which would be really fun?
I'm thinking, yes, we're going to get the whole gang back together. 10 years of Force Awakens. And that's the movie that started it all. I think started, this reinvigoration of Star Wars. I think it's worth it. Yes. 10 years of Last Jedi. I love The Last Jedi, but I don't know if it pulls 10 years of Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if that pulls the whole cast together. I think 10 years of The Force Awakens pulls everybody together. That was when the fandom was very united, very excited.
It was the return of Star Wars,
Yes,
it was Star Wars is back.
It was huge. So I think that
phenomenon.
The Force Awakens 10-year anniversary is the perfect thing to bring back JJ, Daisy, John Boyega, our good old boy Poe Dameron's going to be there. I almost said him when you asked who we would get a panel with one-on-one, a dream one. Like, Oscar Isaac is super cool. I love the Poe Dameron character. He's kind of my second little, man crush. Like, I love his acting.
He's number 1.
He's great. Adam Driver.
It's an interesting choice. Objectively speaking, that is wrong. Because Oscar Isaac is a beautiful man, and
Oh, yes, he is.
I'm not trying to discount our guy Adam, but we're talking about man crushes. Having Oscar Isaac behind Adam Driver in that contest, that feels disrespectful. I'm not gonna lie, that feels disrespectful.
Well, you can take that as disrespect, but I mean nothing but to honor Oscar Isaac, and I would love him to be. He is going to be at Celebration, so I love that he is. I hope that
So
so much
honored
more
he's
of the
number
cast.
2. He's the
Well,
first loser on your list. Thank you.
he's above, a million other people, so take it that way.
Whoa, Sydney, relax. I'm not comparing him to Manny. I was just doing a pure Adam to Oscar comparison here.
Manny Jacinto is a pretty man.
The jawline of Manny Jacinto is unrivaled.
Razor sharp.
Is unrivaled. We cannot say
Good
that
God.
clearly enough. So I apologize if you misunderstood what we were going for here. But so Nate, not to ask you who your sequel man crushes are in order, but more so, do you think there's a good chance we could get a Force Awakens reunion panel incoming?
I'm fairly certain there will be something. It makes no sense. They're already marketing. They're going pretty hard on the 10-year Force Awakens branding. So I would imagine. Now, the question is, who's all going to be there? Obviously, Oscar's going to be there. I would imagine Daisy Ridley's going to show up. John Boyega's an interesting one. I could see him being another surprise because I never would have imagined Oscar Isaac coming back because he hasn't really
John's been open to talking more about Star Wars recently.
Yeah, so
John's been mentioning a little more. I think he's gonna be there. If Oscar's gonna be there, I think John's
doing it. I could see him doing it. JJ, I mean, if you have the big 3, I don't think you need it. I would be very curious if they could manage because they've done it before. I would be very curious if they could manage to get Harrison Ford out there.
I honestly I don't see it.
Has done quite a lot of surprise appearances everywhere. A lot more than I think you want to give him credit for. He's been at the Game Awards. He's done all kinds of other things. He's come to surprise celebrations before, so there's a chance he shows up.
There's a chance. I'm not holding my breath on this
again,
one, though.
I'm not either. Again, it's Japan, so it's not exactly, hey, I'm going to decide on a Tuesday afternoon I'm going to go out to Japan for the weekend. So you got to plan this months in advance. So it's not easy, but they could do it. But yeah, I do think they will have something a Force Awakens related at Celebration.
Here's where it's going to get interesting, though, is when John gets announced that he's coming back. They get on stage and Daisy Ridley is there to talk about her movie, and boom, she says she's going to need some help on this new adventure, that there's going to be some people coming along for the ride in this movie set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. And that's when Oscar and John walk back out on the screen or on the stage, and the music hits.
I would not be surprised.
The crowd goes wild.
I would not be surprised.
And we get the trio back, not only for this Force Awakens reunion, but our Force Awakens reunion now has turned into the reunion for the next film that will take place post Rise of Skywalker. And that is what I am already seated for. Already seated. I'll take the day off from school if that happens. That happens if I'm whatever I don't know what the time difference is though. Like, so if I'm if it's like 2 a.m. or something my time and I'm watching this happen,
we're going to be doing night coverage of Celebration, and it's going to be long.
I'll start.
In fact,
prepping my body.
In fact, I was thinking we might be needing to do a live stream because I believe Thursday night is going to be Friday morning over in Japan, which is when they're going to start all the festivities. We're going to have to figure something out. So we might
Okay.
need a live reaction.
We can do it. I'm
Weird
in. I'm game.
time differences.
It's a 14-hour time difference.
Yeah,
Easy.
let's be round.
Easy.
Money. I
Well,
once
why
sat
not?
in a theater for
I'm gonna be
28 straight hours for a Star Wars Skywalker Saga marathon. I can
so
can
jacked
stay
up
up.
on Mountain Dew weekend. I am ready to go.
No, so I really am curious though, because this celebration is very unique, and not that there aren't unique situations at every celebration, but this one is just very neatly put in a place where I don't think Lucasfilm would have necessarily expected us to be at this place 2 years since the last one, where Mando and Grogu is the only film that really has a firm release date, the only one that's done any work at all. I don't think they expected that to be the case still at this point. And now they have one film on the deck, and they have all of these little tidbits for others, and I don't know if they have a lot to say about any of them, but they're going to be expected to try to galvanize everyone with some sort of big announcement, some sort of big news that hits home, because they can't just sit on Mando and Grogu. They're going to release a trailer, but they can't just sit on that. They can't just sit on Andor season 2 happening. They're going to have to pack a punch with a feature film that includes something that feels like higher stakes rather than just the Mandalorian and Grogu. And I'm really curious to see if that's going to be, a Sean Levy walking out on stage to talk about his movie, or if that's going to be Daisy bringing on stage, her fellow co-stars from, the sequel trilogy. I'm really excited to see what they decide to go with, because they're going to have to pack a punch somewhere.
100%. I feel like Sean Levy, you can take it to the bank if that's going to be the next feature film going into production. Do they about Ryan Gosling to Japan and bring him out? How do they make a big splash?
We're going to be live streaming. If we're live streaming Thursday night and Ryan Gosling walks on the stage, you will watch me pass out live on this stream. I will pass out. I'll be done.
Yep.
You're just going to watch me collapse. It's going to be me like this for about 2 hours before I finally come to, and then I look on, my screen again. I see Ryan Gosling in this. I'm back out. It's going to be blacking out completely.
Gosling is doing reviews on the celebration stage. Star Wars. That's going to be just mind-melting in of itself. Like that and Star Wars. I can't bridge the gaps, but I'm ready to bridge it, man. I want it.
Nate, are you using the Ethernet this week?
I am, and I'm annoyed that it seems to be breaking up.
Luke, Ryan Gosling on stage talking Star Wars. Does that do it for you? Would Ryan Gosling? 2 questions actually. Are you pretty excited for that? Like, where's your excitement level for that? And 2, would Ryan Gosling be able to pass Adam Driver on your man crush scale, depending on what character he's playing in Star Wars?
So I'm still kind of reeling from the fact that this was announced that he's gonna potentially be in Star Wars. I should probably believe it more than I do right now. I kind of just don't believe it, but I should get on the bandwagon of this is probably going to happen. I'm still a little skeptical on it, but if he gets on that stage, that's very exciting. And to answer your final question, he is not passing Adam Driver. It could depend on his performance as, some great character in Star Wars. He could really rival Oscar Isaac. But
do you answer this honestly? This is yes or no. And you answer, tell the truth. Okay. Do you or do you not have a framed, high waist pants, shirtless Adam Driver Last Jedi photo in your house? Yes or no? Tell the truth.
I really wish we weren't doing this right now. Yeah,
No.
Me too. I don't, but I wish I did. How about that answer?
Guys, I told him to tell the truth, and he chose not to. So I'm sorry, but putting that out there. Speaking of random posters, hold on a second. So Luke and I'm going to tell a quick story, then we'll keep going. So Luke and I get home from I was coaching one of my girls' basketball game this week, and I get back and there's this giant box,
Oh,
like giant box in my
yeah.
next to my room, and I'm going, I know I bought something, but I mean we're talking like giant box, and I'm thinking, what on earth could this be? And I know I didn't buy it. I know that it's not from Janelle, and I don't think anyone sent me anything, but clearly I made a fairly substantial purchase. And so we open it up. Turns out it's from my father, and my father's a very wonderful man. But this is I have space for this, but I'm trying to figure out where to put it. But this giant poster of like A New Hope, but like look how big this is, like comparatively to me. Like this is huge.
And yes, it does happen to be also
Plain.
the shirt that I am wearing today.
Playing the guessing game of who sent this, what is this going to be, was quite crazy. But anyway, sorry. Back to Star Wars, back to your regularly scheduled programming. So if you guys had to pick one Star Wars Celebration, would you rather have the Sean Levy Ryan Gosling panel of we're coming out for this movie, this is happening, we go into production, this fall, or would you rather get the reunion, Daisy Ridley, Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, not Force Awakens reunion, but a reunion of like, hey, we're all coming back for another movie? If you had to pick one, not that both can't happen at some point, but only one happens at Celebration, you can't pick both. Which one are you saying? Going with that one. And
I am absolutely 100,000%. I'm going with the team up of the sequel trilogy characters again. I'm going. Oh, absolutely! Like all respect to Ryan Gosling and the work he's maybe hopefully going to put in, but what's going to get me off my on the edge of my seat? I'm going with Daisy, John, Oscar all together again. I'm so locked in for that.
I knew you were going to say that, so I want to
probably not a surprise.
One for one. Nate, where are you? Pick one. You got to pick one.
I want to make an argument for Levy and Gosling, but I can't. It's got to be the sequel people. So now, naturally, my internet's probably dipping out at the moment trying to talk. But yeah, I just think that'd be a huge win for Star Wars. Just seeing those three back together again to get one more chance to maybe finally not do it right, but get it. But I love a good redemption story. So why not? Just come on, just get the band back together and just let's give another crack to finally just silence everyone.
All the haters.
This movie is because it's going to be a lovely time to be a sequel defender. So, and
the best part,
too, the internet's not going to change.
So, here's the thing too about this is there would be some level of maybe that's the right word, vindication for sequel defenders and even Disney to some degree if they were to double down and say, we're moving forward with these same people that some of you have spent your entire lives trying to berate and attack on the internet and tell us that this is not real Star Wars. Hey, this is your next Star Wars. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be these characters. We're going to continue the story. We're going to push forward in the timeline, and we're going to be bold. We're going to be brave, and we're going to accomplish that. And that's the story. I would be really excited if they were to do that and say, hey, we're not afraid of all of this. We are going to push forward with these characters and deliver you a kick-ass story set in a part of the timeline that none of you are remotely familiar with or have any idea of what is to come. That would be really exciting. And John Boyega better walk on stage with a lightsaber. That's all I'm saying. And that would be fantastic. However,
I knew it.
I love Daisy Ridley. I have to go with Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling just for the pure reason of Ryan Gosling in Star Wars still boggles my mind. And
Majorly.
if you bring back the sequel characters, and yes, we don't know what is happening 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker. It's brand new in the timeline, and I do love that. But I know these characters. I'm familiar with them, and I want to, refamiliarize myself there. But I have absolutely no earthly idea what Ryan Gosling is doing in the Star Wars universe. And I just have to know like what this man is up to and what Sean Levy is cooking. Like I really hope, because if they're announcing this movie, maybe we learn a little bit about the era that it's in, or maybe a little bit of the premise if they're bringing Gosling there. And so that honestly would probably have the most immediate, it's like the immediate gratification, that one right there. The one that's going to get me excited for the long haul would probably be the sequel characters. But if we're just talking like that celebration high that you get when that announcement happens or that reunion happens, for me, it's the Ryan Gosling, Sean Levy movie. That one's the one that's going to get me. He's going to get me a little excited. That's the one. Like I said, I'll stay up till 3 a.m. talking about this one if I have to. We'll take the day off from school. It's okay. They'll understand. 2 days for MegaCon, 2 days for celebration live streaming. Not the big deal.
It's only fair.
It's only fair. So a couple other things happened this week in Star Wars. A pretty light week in terms of, overall, big news. Nothing really happened. But a few things happened in the comic sphere. We got Legacy of Vader, issue 1, which was, if you're a Kylo Ren fan, which we talked about before, obviously Luke clearly is a big Kylo Ren fan, then you probably really enjoyed this week in Star Wars, being able to get some more Kylo Ren stories. The Kylo Ren story maybe we've been asking for, some stories filling in gaps between episodes 8 and 9. Also, though, and I know Nate has some thoughts on this, the Bad Batch book, Sanctuary, got its synopsis. We know where it's going to be set in. And I would agree with probably the general sentiment that's going to be out there is I was a little bit deflated when I heard the timeline of the story. But Nate, I know you are not going to pull punches here on this one.
Yeah. First things first, I have no doubts that this book is going to be a lot of fun for fans of the Bad Batch, and it's going to be a well-written book. I have no doubts about that. Pretty much every Star Wars book is good to great. Pretty much every single one in recent years has been really good.
Yeah.
But there are some books where they just play it way too safe. No, than they want to just in case want to tell a story 5, 10, 15 years down the line with these characters. We want to keep that timeline open. And I'm just like, we're in the present. What's the point? Tell the story that the people most want to see. They're clearly not afraid to step on canon if they need to revisit certain plot points or whatever. We just saw it in the Battle of Jakku comic, and they found a way to make it work. A good writer is going to make anything work. It's not that hard to adapt something or whatever.
Sure, we saw it in Bad Batch with Ventress.
You can and Ventress, but you can always go back to those beautiful words, from a certain point of view.
Exactly. And that's kind of been how you get over canon retcons, if you will. It's always from a certain point of view. And so telling this book set in the middle of season 2 is just not going to interest enough people to make worthwhile investments. Like Synopsis reads every Batch episode. If you love the Bad Batch, you're probably going to enjoy it. It's probably going to be really fun. It sounds like a good time. But but let's call a spade a spade. The Bad Batch fan base is small and passionate. It's not going to bring in Star Wars fans all across the stratosphere.
Right.
So you're limiting the scope of the book by not telling a fresh story. You're not, I don't know, you're shooting yourself in the foot almost with this book off the bat. I
mean, there
don't
was
want to call
two
it
avenues to go to, and it was either you go to the future after the show and you tell a story of them, you know, having to do something maybe to help Echo and Rex with the clones, like a clones uprising, a clone rebellion. You do something with them, or you just take it all the way back and you just give a Clone Wars book and you just tell a Clone Wars arc, a Clone Wars story with that we haven't heard before, but all the Clone Wars fans would be able to hop on board, be excited, and you could throw in some Jedi that, you know, we don't know that they have or haven't interacted with. Easy win right there. But this to me felt like the most uninteresting of the options.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because next week the Bad Batch comic starts, and that story is set during the Clone Wars. And I got the first issue in my inbox today, and I checked it out. And they interact with characters that I'm like, this is really neat and interesting. I'm not going to spoil it at this point because it's still a week out, but that's interesting. I don't know how this book could be interesting at this point, and they're going to have to sell me on it. And for this to be your first book in a post High Republic world, I'm like, what? It's like you're not.
You think it's possible?
Really, like
they still aren't sure where they want to go yet, and they needed something, and they were like, "We just want to have the safest." You know, was that what it was? It's just interesting that because
I mean, they have.
If you're not a fan of the High Republic, if you're not a fan of the High Republic, and there's plenty of people that maybe aren't on board, or you know, it's too much for them. You've been kind of wanting in terms of some big Star Wars stories that you could, you know, chomp on for a while. And, you know, maybe you're looking at like, hey, High Republic is ending. It's not my thing. And we're going to maybe get to some stories I might be more interested in. Then boom, Bad Batch, but season 2. And if it really is to just include Tech, just tell the Clone Wars story that maybe is out there. It to me, similarly in the High Republic, not that Tech has the same amount of weight as a Stellan Gios does in the High Republic, but we've seen how the loss of Stellan propels so many interesting storylines moving forward. But now the loss of Tech clearly has a big effect on every single Bad Batch member. You know, Tech's legacy can live on easily in another novel. I mean, for crying out loud too, every single novel it seems like we have now has some sort of like flashback element to it to some degree. You could easily do a Tech flashback every time with Omega if you really want to, because she has Tech's goggles there. She takes off to fly and join the rebellion because he's the one that taught her to fly. Like his legacy lives on easily. And I don't think we necessarily, you know, have to include Tech. But Nate, is this a middle grade novel? Is this a young adult, or what is this? Have they said?
It's Random House Worlds, which publishes all the adult novels. So that's what I'm assuming it is. I guess they haven't said.
Uchini says it's an adult novel.
Which is another thing. Yeah, yeah. So it's published by the adult novel publisher. So I'd imagine it's that, which is also interesting because the Bad Batch. I mean, it has its moments of being mature, but at its core, it's still a somewhat kids show. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to elevate the Bad Batch to that mature level. And it's not that hard. I mean, the show did it at various points, but yeah, I have a lot of questions about this book, and I'm curious to have them answered.
Like right here too, RG, or give us a story of what Omega is doing in the Empire time. Maybe show how the Bad Batch have to come out of retirement to help her with some special mission. And even for non-Bad Batch fans, you know how easy it is to tie in, you know, Luke Skywalker to something here. Or even like a Harrison Dula, you could tie in, you know, for Rebels fans, you could do something there. And there was a lot of easy ways I feel like they could have made us all pretty excited for this, book.
Yeah.
But instead, it really feels like we're just gonna get the mission of the week.
They're
but
playing
in
it safe when they don't
350
have to.
pages.
They're playing it
Mhm.
safe when they don't have to. But it's so easy to readapt something. Like we're probably going to end up seeing an Andor in a couple months because they're going to have to cover some Rebels ground with Mon Mothma and whatnot. So they're not going to have the opportunity to play it safe. And if they do, they're going to have to get creative. Stories are better when your storytellers are forced to think outside the box and a lot of the times. And yeah, I'm just limiting your sandbox. Hope it doesn't doom this novel because it could be really interesting. It could be a lot of fun, and it will surely bring more people to be fans of the Bad Batch. But like, I don't know, like it's just not interesting enough at this stage.
Right. What do you think, Luke? Like, where does this? Were you a little bit upset when because Luke, if for people who are tuning in, maybe you're not familiar with Luke's game, let me tell you, Luke is. If you need someone, if you're having a bad day, Luke is the person you call because Luke will pull that darkness out of you if it's the last thing that he does. And so Luke is here. He's going to save us. Luke, please take it away.
What did I say earlier today in the Discord? I was like, listen, guys, tonight's show is actually just going to be the top 10 reasons this book is going to be a cultural phenomenon and New York Times bestseller.
And I wanted to reply top 10 reasons why it won't be.
I'm not gonna lie. My job for being the ray of hope is a little harder with this one because I do share a lot of the sentiment you guys have shared with. It's playing a little bit too safe. I watched season 2 of The Bad Batch. Do I need a novel set in that season? I don't feel like I do, but maybe the author will give us something that happened between arcs that was super influential. Maybe there is some kind of element that happened. I maybe need to rewatch season 2, and there's going to be something.
I love the Bad Batch.
It's set after the tsunami episode in that episode, which I don't remember a single thing about. So if
tsunami hits, and then I felt like life. They were just recovering.
Are you guys really not going to name drop Pabu?
Yeah.
That's just disrespect, okay?
I don't.
It's Pabu.
I don't care about Pabu. I don't care about Pabu.
I care immensely about Pabu.
Pabu. No, but the thing is, this isn't like Clone Wars where you have this galactic wide scale conflict going on, or the Star Wars Rebels where there's so much happening in these shows that you could easily tell another story within. Bad Batch is very self-contained, and you kind of just see their various missions, and in a lot of the expository content they just let you know what happened earlier, but to get them to this point, and you just kind of see it play out step by step. There's not a lot of these ginormous time jumps. So this is in season 2. It just seems pretty straightforward. I would not mind getting some more Crosshair moments, maybe. If
I was going to say Crosshair.
If we're going to spend any time with Crosshair, or if it's just we're going to talk about him and he's not necessarily going to be in the book. But it's just weird. The tsunami episode happens, and we know what happens immediately after, and we're going to sandwich in this little adventure. I'm trying to be excited. I'm going to read it, of course, but I'm a little nervous, for this one, because it felt like of all of their options when they were looking at the table, they said, which one can we do that might make people the most bored upon reading the synopsis? And they chose that one. And I feel a little upset about that. And, that's coming from 3 people here who live and read Star Wars books and comics. And it's a difficult thing to
holding a twist back, a twist in the book. This is a book where I want to know the twist. What are you hiding? Interest me in this book, because right now that synopsis reads like a elongated episode of the show that might be a two-parter, that might be a mid-season finale, and but not a fun one, not an interesting one,
Right.
But yeah.
Luke, if you had to pick a Bad Batch story to tell, like where would you have wanted the timeline to be for this book?
So I guess that might be the problem, is that question, Tyler. If I'm trying to make a new book and trying to get something released in the Star Wars publishing, I might not have chosen the Bad Batch to make a new novel from.
Well,
I
I
thought
mean,
their
I'm just
show
saying,
was
like in
great.
the world of the Bad Batch, like we have a Bad Batch novel. You have to pick a story
Okay,
to tell. Like, what
that's
timeline are you
fair.
picking here for these characters?
I would be interested in putting us after the main run ended. Like the last 60 seconds of the show is adult Omega going off to join the rebellion. I'm not asking for that. I think that's cool. I think I want to maybe tackle that in animation. I would like something that is with after like the show ends, where they're recently defeating
Hemlock.
Hemlock. I was trying to think of his name.
Mhm.
So they're on Pabu, they're safe, and maybe give it like a 2-year gap, and then we've got like a bigger conflict that they have to get drawn into. I would have liked something
Something with Echo just
there.
seems perfect. Like I'm
Yes.
sorry. To me, the perfect thing might have been, and this is going to be traumatizing, is if they have to go help Echo out and Rex out, and we learn the origin of quote unquote Echo Base, and something horrible happens, and that's why they have to go get vengeance or redemption for Echo. Something happens. I don't know. That would have been great. And so Oscar, is it based on episodes that were dropped? So the book is based right after the tsunami hits Pabu City, and they have to get everyone to like the higher levels. The book is based right after that episode. They're on a mission, and the mission, goes wrong, and it risks the team and it risks Pabu. Now they're gonna fail Pabu and fail their people. I don't know what exactly is going to happen from that, but it's basically in between that episode and whatever the next one is, I guess, because it's set right after it. So it's very, they're working with B, who has some intel on some like treasure. I think there's like some treasure, and they're trying to work with her on this intel, and it goes wrong, goes sideways, things like that. So, anything else on that before we wrap up this evening?
I just had a thought.
Share it.
It could be interesting if a lot of that main plot is, because that episode is kind of towards the end of season 2. It could be interesting if we get all that adventure and then they hit a point where they need to go back to what they're doing. And then like the last third of the book is like post season 2, Tech is dead, and they have to reckon with that. That could be how they make the book a little more interesting, because we didn't really see a lot of that elements, I guess. But yeah, Sydney, I'm trying to have.
Nate tried to have faith and completely
I'm not
blacked
sure
out
what
when he
this
said
book
that.
is at this point.
So that'll do it for us this evening. I had a good time, just a fun, chill Star Wars chat that ended with a little bit more negativity than we normally would have liked. But remember the positive beacons of hope that we lit and before we decided to talk about this book at the end. Everyone, stay tuned for our Kevin Scott interview. It was a really fun chat. You guys are if you like Star Wars books at all, and just talking, then this is the book, or this is the interview for you, because we talk about the Rising Storm. Yes, we branch off. We talk about anything from the High Republic to even other aspects of Star Wars as well. Nate dropped a link in the chat. Join our Discord channel where we talk Star Wars all week long leading up to our live show, and we'll have another podcast out for you. Again, this week we try to give you anywhere from 1 to 3 shows a week, normally 2 or 3. So be looking for that. Go to Star Wars News Net for all your Star Wars news and needs. Can't wait for everyone to see that Kevin Scott interview, RG. Yes, it's going to be a good time. Nate, Luke, thank you for being here. It's always a good time to talk Star Wars with both of you. And now it's time for Luke and I to resume watching some Star Trek for the evening. So we'll get this out there and we'll get going on that. Until next week, everyone, for Light and Life, remember, we are all the Republic.